Hi, this is Michael Martina. I'm going to be talking with you about some research that I completed as a psychiatry resident at the University of Alberta with Drs. Richard Camacholi and Dr. Merlene G. We're going to be speaking about the relationship between structural integrity of frontal white matter tracts, including the fornix and uncinate fasciculus, and neuropsychiatric symptoms in Parkinson's disease. So as you well know, neuropsychiatric symptoms and non-motor symptoms in general account for a significant burden of disease in Parkinson's, as well as a significant decrement in quality of life. The white matter tracts that we've chosen to look at were selected because of their involvement in neuropsychiatric symptoms and disease processes. So we used a Compass ND database that we're all very familiar with. Participants were all collected at the University of Alberta, as were the controls on the same scanner. Participants all had a diagnosis of PD or PD plus MCI. There were no PDD patients involved. And we further subdivided the participants into those with Parkinson's disease that did have neuropsychiatric symptoms according to scales, and those with Parkinson's disease that did not have neuropsychiatric symptoms according to scales. And the scales used include the GAD-7 for anxiety, GDS full scale for depression, the apathy inventory, and the NPI. We utilized FLAIR DTI, which has common measures including fractional anisotropy, mean diffusivity, axial diffusivity, radial diffusivity, tract length, and tract volume. These were all measured in each of our participants and controls. Some previous work has shown that there is no substructural atrophy that is involved in these tracts, and that study was done particularly in patients with PD and depression. All regions of interest were hand-drawn and checked for both intra and inter-rater reliability. So our primary analysis was to compare our full PD group versus controls, as well as comparing our neuropsych positive and neuropsych negative PD groups to each other. And what we were looking for was changes in these DTI measurements, as well as any correlation between changes in DTI measurements and our scales, including the GDS and GAD-7. We didn't look at apathy at this point because we did not have enough patients that scored on that scale. So a secondary analysis was also performed, which utilized free surfer volumes, looking at several brain structures. And again, we did the same comparisons between PD all and controls, as well as neuropsych negative and neuropsych positive groups. So our primary analysis did not reveal any significant difference between DTI measurements and any of the groups, including those Parkinson's patients with neuropsych symptoms and those without. And as well, it didn't reveal any significant correlations between DTI measurements and scale scores on the GAD or GDS. Our volume analysis, however, did have some interesting results in that it showed a significant difference in both right and left hippocampal volumes, which are decreased in neuropsych positive symptoms versus those with no neuropsych symptoms. So our conclusions that we can draw from this is that since there are no significant DTI changes, none of these sub-atrophy scale changes, that lets us know that these tracts are still intact, meaning that they can still be targeted for treatment. Future analysis plans that were pointed to by our interesting volume findings are that we could use a full cohort of available data and a more sensitive method to look at specific brain regions and how volumes may change in those patients with and without neuropsychiatric symptoms. Thank you very much for coming to this virtual talk. I look forward to answering some questions at our virtual event. Bye-bye.